Well, good morning, retailers. My name is Scott Morris. I'm the Director of Business Development for GTS Distribution. We're back with another one of our publisher to retailer webinars with our good friends from Thames and Kosmos. Tom Wetzel is here joining us, a marketing manager in the United States here for a, as we have said, ginormous company. We were just talking previously about how big Thames and Kosmos is, and much more than just a board game company for sure. They are an education company first, but we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. We're going to talk about a couple of things you see over my shoulder right here. So My City, we're going to talk about a couple of new exit titles. We're going to talk about the new adventure games. I did have somebody hit me on Facebook, and Tom, this may be something you're going to talk about during the presentation, but if not, I'm sure you can do it and wing it ad hoc. I had someone hit me on a Facebook message saying, what do you consider the difference between the exit games and the adventure games? And I've played them, almost all of them, but I think I know the answer, but I'll let you answer that as we get going. For all the retailers who are here, thank you very much for taking the time to join. If this is your first time joining, welcome, really appreciate it. If it's your returning time or your 100th time, if your name is Derek by any chance, that's totally cool as well. We appreciate that. If you do have any questions, as I always tell everybody, everything is on the table, pardon the pun. You're welcome to hover over your video window. There's a little chat bubble at the bottom. You can either send a message to all the panelists, which are myself and Tom, or you can send a message to all the panelists and attendees, which will get all the other retailers will see your question as well. As always, Tom, you don't have to worry about that. I'll manage that and just kind of work them in as we go left and right. I will warn you, Sean Wainwright's here, so you never know what kind of crazy questions you may get. They're usually good. So with that, I will kick it over to you, though. I'll let you get started, and we'll get rolling.
Cool. Thank you, Scott. And thank you, everyone, for joining. This is always a great opportunity, and I love talking about the new games, and I'm really excited about the games we have this time. It's more than I usually like to go over because I'd like to get more in depth, but these, because the exit and the adventure games have already been a series that hopefully you're familiar with, I'm not going to spend as much time on them, but let's see, let me get my screen here. I'll share with you. I've made a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation that you should be able to see now. And of course, you know, happy to
You're good to go. I got it.
Cool. All right. So to start off, we'll kind of go over just briefly.
Actually, it just flipped over to your other screen for some reason.
So let me try. Does that work?
Yes. Now it's full screen, ready to go.
So that's on a different screen. So I might be looking over here occasionally. I apologize, I'm not like focused on my camera, but that's fine. All right, let's talk a little bit about Kosmos games, just as a kind of general idea how I feel about them, and I hope you perceive us as well. I think we make just, you know, top quality, great, some of the best games in the whole industry, and there's a reason for that, and something that Scott kind of mentioned just earlier. We're a pretty big company, and in Germany we have a huge team just for our games. Like there's a team just for the exit games, right? So we have some of the best authors, designers, editors. It's a full team of people. So anytime we put out a game, it's just top quality. We're really proud, something we can be proud of. The materials and the components, well, you know, you don't want to sell yourself short. You make a great game, you also got to have the good components to back it up. So we have that, but we also have the best tech support. So for instance, if something like this was great, someone just shared a picture with us. They have a copy of My City, and it looks like a fly must have gone into the printer and got caught between the printer and the cardboard. So there's a fly imprint on one of the boards. Anyway,
that's a new one.
It's crazy, and it you know, doesn't happen very often, or hopefully it's the first time I've seen it. But we were able to give them a brand new piece, even though they weren't really worried. They thought it was funny. We're like, we're going to send you a new one just because. And so, yeah, top quality customer service. And then the brands that we have. Exit the game, obviously, that's what we're going to talk about today. The Crew, which has been our best-selling game right out of the gate in our board game history. Imhotep, Lost City, Drop It, Andor. I mean, I can go on and on, but I won't because we got to move on.
You know, it's going to sound silly, but the top-notch customer support is not something to just be a bullet point on its own. I've had a lot of conversations this year with some retailers who have seen some pretty big changes in how some companies have supported their games long term.
Mhm.
And that's something that kind of helps, I think, from a retail perspective, being able to say, there's no fear to them promoting a game to their consumers, knowing that if there is, even as crazy as it sounds, having a fly and printed on something,
Right, right.
that the company's going to help take care of it and stuff. I've even had, I think two in the entire lifetime of me playing Cosmos games, I've had two issues where little small things like a card was missing from the game or something was broken and receiving it and everything, and every time I contacted customer support, it was just super quick and super easy. So that's just a nice little added extra, which is good.
Yeah, we never ask for like proof of purchase or anything like that, or any kind of like. It's just if you need, let's say you spilled some drink on your Lost Cities card or something, and you need to replace your 7 blue card. Like, yeah, we'll send it to you. We're not. It's something that we take a lot of pride in. So thank you for bringing that up again. All right, let's move on. This is just a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start with My City. We're going to spend most of the time on My City because that's the new one, and it's already doing really well, but I want to make sure that we drive that home. Exit the games. We got 2 new ones coming out just later this month, along with a new addition to the adventure games. And I will definitely address the difference between those two. So, top selling points for My City. The first obvious one is that it was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres in 2020 this year, which is a huge honor. And we're very happy to have received that. And I know a lot of people were claiming that this was going to win. We're sad we didn't win, but we're also very happy that Pitchers won, because we've heard that's a great game too. But this game, it definitely belongs on your shelf because it's just already got so much buzz. It's designed by Rainer Knizia. I mean, people in the hobby know that name. He's an all-star, he's royalty. So just the fact that it's a Rainer Knizia game is another reason it should be on your shelf. And then it's getting great reviews. It's really like from like the hobby gamers, like the big. I don't want to call anyone out specifically, but all of those big channels getting good reviews there. But also we send this game out to review some of our science toy families that review things. So this is not necessarily gamer families, but just regular families that play games, and it's getting great reviews with them as well. What makes it great? And first of all, it's a legacy game designed by Rainer Knizia specifically for families. I'll break that down. First of all, legacy game. If you're in the toy or if you're in the game industry, you know that term, and maybe you've heard it too much, right? Like so many legacy games are so popular and whatever. Not everyone knows about legacy games, so this is a new opportunity for a lot of families. But this was designed specifically to introduce people to the concept. So if you have a family that say they've played like Ticket to Ride or even Monopoly, and they haven't really delved into some of these bigger, grander legacy games, this is a great way to introduce them to that concept. And I think that you'll get some really good fans from this because, yeah, it's just so approachable and accessible. Yeah, so blow away your customers' minds with this game, because I was at the Toy Fair in New York, it feels like forever ago. But I was telling all of the toy store owners about the concept of this game and how the first thing you do is you write your name or the name of your city on the board with a marker physically, and that as the game progresses, you're going to put stickers on the board and you're going to mark things up. You're going to make permanent changes to your board. Blew their minds. They just couldn't believe it. They're like, such a crazy concept. It's actually been around for a couple of years, but this is the first one that I know of that is as accessible and made specifically for families. Also, let's see here. I'll share my screen a little bit to show the components a little bit better, but it's a big box, right? It's the big box game, and the MSRP is $34.95. Lots of components. We really tried to keep the price low because we're trying to capture that entry-level family gamer. So I think that that's a really good price point for them. And then after you've played through the Legacy campaign, or even if you haven't played through the whole Legacy campaign, you can play the reverse side of the board as an Eternal side. And that's another way that I think we're trying to capture, well, first of all, it's a great idea. But second of all, I think it's a good way to capture a lot of those entry-level family gamers, because sometimes people balk at the idea of a game only being able to be played like 24 times. Well, this one, you can play it eternally. You can just keep playing it.
I think the important part about that is what you said at the beginning of that statement, is that you don't have to play the campaign in order to play the game just
Right.
without the campaign. There's a lot of games that we've seen over the last year that have had these great sprawling, big, giant campaigns, but to actually get to have a repeatably playable game, you have to get all the way through that. And of course, obviously 2020 has kind of put a damper on a lot of that, right? I think we've gone all the way through the campaign on this one, and we've done it with both of our kids. I have a 12-year-old son and a 15-year-old son. My 12-year-old could care less about board games. He's a sports kid. He loves going outside. He very, very rarely gets excited about board games. My 15-year-old loves board games. He dives headfirst into them, and both of them really, really like this one. It was not something hard for the non-gamer child to pick up on. It was not something too simple for the one that was deep into it to, get bored or get, lapsed on or anything. But just the simple fact that, like, I think we were maybe 5 or 6 chapters in, and we had family come over and they were like, "Oh, let's teach them My City." And like, it struck me, I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Like, we don't have to wait until we're done with everything else we're doing. Like, we can actually play it and still not even mess up anything that we're, working on with the campaign as it is right now. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to show my screen here, if I can, because this next slide is just a really simple picture of the components. But I have the game here, so I'm going to stop sharing and just go with my video here. Hopefully you can see it a little bit bigger. But this, again, for size, this is the size. It's the big, 12 by 12 by 3 big box, and it's chock full of components. Let me show you a couple of them here. This is the player board. It's basically the size of the box, right? It's a nice big player board. It's thick. This copy's been open for a while, and there's no warping, there's no and there's tons of humidity here, so nice and thick. So this is the campaign side that you can see there's a lot of empty space. Well, that's going to get filled with stickers and changes, right? This is the Eternal side. This is the side that you can play even before you finish the campaign. Now, it's probably best that you familiarize yourself with the regular game before you delve into this, but if you wanted to, you could just open up a couple of envelopes and you can just start here. But I would recommend starting here, just because that's the way I would do it. Here's the manual. Nice, big, colorful pictures. It's actually not a very long manual. It's only the first few pages. And then the next few pages are for the Eternal. So depending on which side or which way you want to play, the manual is only, four pages with a lot of colorful pictures and kind of examples. It's really simple. There's also some really good tutorial videos online, like Watch It Played made a tutorial video, which is just fantastic. He goes through it so fast, and it's also very thorough. We have here the legacy aspect of the game. These are the envelopes, and they're full. Some of them are thicker than others, for obvious reasons. They're secret, but this is where you're going to play. Each envelope contains components for 3 games, and there's 8 of them, so that's 24 episodes. Then we have the tiles. These are the polyominoes, nice thick pieces, and each piece has a color on the back with a symbol. Now you can't really see, but that's got a wolf on it, so it's colorblind friendly, which is nice. Or for the most part, it's colorblind friendly. But because it's not like a secretive information thing, it's pretty I'd say it's pretty colorblind friendly.
I just added the link to the Watch It Played video into the chat as well. So if any of the retailers want to check that out, you're welcome to check it out. I personally love Rodney's videos because they're completely non-opinionated. It's just kind of presumed, obviously, that since he has it on his channel that he likes the game, but he does a great job of just concisely and clearly going through how do you play this game and how do you teach the game. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. I think that this game now, we were going to do like one of those splash events through double exposure because this game could demo very well. The first episode that you play, you don't have to mark up your board. So you could go through a demo pretty easily. All you're doing is taking those polyomino pieces and filling up your board as best you can. You flip a card over that shows one of the buildings. Everyone places the building at the same time. So there's kind of an easy way to kind of play and watch at the same time. And you can teach and play through an episode in probably 20 minutes, I would say. You could go a really easy game to demo. Let me go back now to my PowerPoint. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so this will kind of conclude this, but we can come back to questions about it. Just talking about My City, that's the item number, MSRP, and that is available right now. So if you're interested, this is a good one to have on your shelf for Christmas, I think, the holiday season. Let's quickly, we don't have a ton of time, and respect everyone's time, so I want to touch just on the exit games here really quick. First of all, this is one of the best-selling games in our library, or it is our best-selling series for sure. Worldwide, we sold over 5 million copies. It is hugely popular, and this year alone, those numbers have already increased. So it's over 5 million. Right now, puzzle games they're super hot, right? And these aren't jigsaw puzzles necessarily, but they are puzzle games. And we've seen an increase in sales this year, especially as people want to do things at home. I just saw there's a bunch of celebrities on Twitter. There was kind of this thing where a bunch of them were talking about what they're doing, and a couple of them mentioned escape room games at home, and Exit the Game got brought up because, well, of course it did. I think it's the best one, but it's very popular, and we're happy about that. We're happy that we have a nice quality product that people can play at home, and this is a home run. And so I put here that they're $14.95 because we have 17 now in the series, and 16 of them are $14.95. There's the one double episode, the Catacombs of Horror. That one is a little bit more. It's $24.95. But all the other ones are $14.95. And all the other ones are great. It's that we call it the fun box size. It's like 7 inches by 5 inches, and I've seen people put them in, stocking stuffers. I've seen people take them to like Christmas parties and things like that. Not sure if those will happen this year, but it's still a really great gift idea, and it's such a good price point. These are the two that are coming out later this month. We have Exit the Enchanted Forest, which is a little bit easier. That's going to be a 2-circle. And then we have Exit the Cemetery of the Night. That's a little bit harder. It's going to be 3 circles. I particularly love both of these because of the themes. And that's what I tell people usually, pick the one that you like the theme the most if you're just getting into it, because the games are all good, but you just might like the themes of some more than others. I mean, the Enchanted Forest is like fairy tales come to life. Like the Grimm tales are great, and this is that. And I love that. I love messing with those old fairy tales. And then Cemetery of the Night is cool. There's like a legend of this tomb that can only be accessed once every 87 years when the moon aligns just right. And I love stories like that. And this one is also just great. I mean, I love that legend myth kind of stuff. And I think that these are going to do really well with customers, especially this season.
I learned that I'm very good at walking aimlessly playing Cemetery of the Night solo. I, I got lost in a couple of locations on that on my own, which was kind of funny. So I had a couple of questions come up, which are really good at this point. So first one,
Yeah.
Julio, a retailer of ours in Guatemala, he gets your guys' stuff from Devere, distributor in South America.
Yep.
He asked, "Is My City in Spanish, or is it going to be available in Spanish?"
I I assumed it was, but I don't actually know that. So I'll
Okay.
have to get back to you.
Okay. I mean, the game
Why wouldn't
itself is actually very nice in that there's very little text involved in the game. I think apart from the rule book, there's really not much. Well, and maybe the inserts into the chapter thing. All right, those would have to be translated. So
yeah. I think you would definitely want a Spanish copy if yeah, you couldn't just watch a video and play it. You'd need a Spanish copy, but I'm pretty sure that Devere is going to do that. I mean, if they don't, that would be silly because it's selling very well for us.
yeah, and Devere does usually translate a lot of your major titles. So
Mhm.
well, we can find out though. The other question that came in, Tabitha asked, are the promo exit packs still available? So you had mentioned earlier about how My City is really good for demo. I was going to make a
Mhm.
comment and just remind the retailers that Thames and Kosmos is part of the formal retail demo program that we have at GTS, which is you can get a copy of a game for 25% of SRP, be able to display it in your store or have it for demo in your store. The exit titles are not part of that just because of what Tabitha just mentioned is spoiling anything. These are not games that you would normally want to spoil. And I think in the past, the exit packs have been available from you guys directly. So I don't know, Tom, how you've got that set up right now.
Yeah. So we did give all of those out. We used to give them away at trade shows, and so that's if you're a retailer and you had them, that might be the way you got them. And we've sent handfuls of them out to retailers who requested them, but we've sold out right now. And we were thinking of reprinting that same one so that stores could do demos, but that was the beginning of this year, and things have not really gone the way we wanted them to. We haven't reprinted it yet, but it's something that we've considered. And if people are interested in it, we should definitely consider it even highly. Like, yeah. So,
Perfect.
all right. Let's move on to the adventure games, and this is where I can also address that question, the difference between them. But let's see. The top selling points I think for this is well, first of all, the adventure games have really taken off this year. We saw the momentum, like exit games right out of the gate. Those were selling like just crazy. And these, I think the first couple of months, I think people weren't sure what they were. They maybe thought that they were like the exit games. So there was a little bit of confusion there. But this year they just exploded. I think it's because they got some really good reviews, and I think people are just like talking about them. And I also think part of the reason is well, role player games are just getting so much more popular, and these are like role player life. This is what I played with my family during last holiday because they don't play role player games. They don't play Dungeons and Dragons. But this was easy for them to get into, and they thought they'd played Dungeons and Dragons after we got done. It was really funny. We played the dungeon, and they're like, "Is this Dungeons and Dragons?" It's like, well, no, but it's close because you take on a character. Like you actually have a character with abilities and disadvantages, and as you go through the game, you get to make choices, and it's pretty freeform. Like you have to choose a location and what you want to do there, but you can choose to do, you know, like once you're at that location, different things as well. So it's kind of role player light, and I think that accessibility has made this particularly popular. And this is, I think, the best game to demo in a store. If you have just 3 feet of table, maybe not even that much, 2 feet of table, and you get adventure game The Dungeon, you just bring it out, and there's this one card. You ask someone, like, you're stuck in this dungeon and you need to get out. What do you want to look at to get out? And they say, oh, I'm going to look at the window. And you read the entry from the game. It's so easy, and people just get immediately hooked by it because the story is really strong. So the difference between exit games and adventure games is really the story, because exit the games, they are puzzle games with a story. The story takes kind of a backseat to the puzzles. The puzzles are the focus. Whereas the adventure games, I think the story is the focus, and it has some puzzles in it, but the puzzles take a backseat to the story. The story is the focus. There's a big, thick book. So yeah, let me fast forward here. I'll go here first. The two adventure games that came out last year, the Dungeon and Monochrome Inc., those each have 3 chapters, and each of those chapters is at least an hour long. Took me 2 hours each, personally. But I've heard people say they've done it in an hour, so that's what I'll say. But there's a lot of gameplay there, and each of those has a book that's about 60 pages long that you can read through, or you can use the app. I'll get into that. But the adventure games, the Volcanic Island, that's the new one that's coming out this year in October, and that one is 4 chapters. But we say it's 75 minutes each chapter. The book is 90 pages long. It's bigger, it's more involved. It's not necessarily harder. I think that the riddles aren't particularly hard in this one, but the story is a little bit more interesting and I think a little more captivating. I also really love the artwork in this game. It's fantastic. So the story, the artwork, all the things that you want in a good RPG kind of game. Well, I guess the artwork is, anyway, for RPGs, not always the key there, but anyway. So like I said, this one has a 90-page book, 4 chapters, but if you, I personally like to read through the storyline. I like kind of getting into character, but some people don't want to read that much. And if you're one of those people, we have an app that you can download, and you can have a professional voice actor read to you the entries from the book. And that's a really nice option, but it's not necessary. None of the games we have, you need an app to play, which I actually love. I prefer analog, and that's kind of why I love this industry, the board games specifically. So yeah, so that is it for the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions if we still have time for that.
Yeah, so Tabitha had just made mention in commentary back and forth about those demo packs, or the kind of display packs for the expansions, or not for the expansions, for the exit games. One of the things I thought of, and this is probably just something for us to talk offline about, but if you guys do reprint those again, that may be something to put into overpack of shipments, kind of like we do with catalogs and things like that. So that could be pretty good too. So always an option. Yeah, it's funny. So everyone can see them right back here on my shelf here. Still a work in progress, but we're getting there. But the Volcanic Island was definitely an uptick in artwork. That's not to say that the dungeon or monochrome had any less artwork. It's just that you could see that there was a considerable difference, I think, in the Volcanic Island. I have to agree with you. I've done both the dungeon and Monochrome Inc., and I didn't feel like Volcanic Island was harder. I felt like, and honestly, I didn't even feel like it was longer. I mean, it's one of those things that once you get wrapped into it, you don't get too wrapped around the axle of, oh, this took us, a half an hour longer or an hour longer or anything like that. But yeah, it's really, really cool looking. So I like the exit games. It's funny, this year I like the exit games because they offer solo opportunity, right? With 2020 being the year we all got grounded and all separated and everything, it's a little harder to play. So having the solo option is really, really cool. But previously, one of the differences to me towards the end of last year when Monochrome and Dungeon came out was that you had kind of the group effort escape room from the exit side, and then you had the story driven narrative thing from the adventure side, which really provided 2 different types of experiences for the group, which was really, really fun. But even solo, the adventure games are super, super cool. Sean just said, when Exit launched, we had a great display for them. As the line expands, plus the adventure games, is there a plan for a upgraded display to house both of them?
Well, they do fit. They're both the same size, so you can fit both of them in that exit game pop-up display. We thought about doing, like, maybe replacing the top section of it, because the top of it is a big, like, exit the game kind of banner. And we thought about maybe adding to that so that you don't necessarily have to replace yours. But if you, of course, need to replace yours, we're happy to help you there too. I mean, anyone who wants to put a pop-up display of exit the game in their store, I'm more than happy to figure out, because that's free if you order it filled. And I believe, Scott, you've had that in the past. I hope you still do.
Yeah, we do.
But it is an option. Yeah.
Yep. I've even seen retailers, even though the Catacombs of Horror is a bigger box, I've seen them work that into the display as well with, 3 or 4 of them on, just kind of sideways instead of, different things like that. So, but that's worked out really good, especially in this day and age when there's really not a lot of shopping per se, right? If you get someone in your store, you kind of have a minimal amount of time for them to really, whether it's by any local laws that you're having to kind of move people in and out, or whether it's just by the fact that people are just trying to kind of punch and get out and, not really hang around too much. You want to be able to kind of separate things and differentiate things. So having a display like that is really helpful. So for sure. Awesome. One thing I will point out just as a reminder to retailers, because I personally absolutely love it, but the game that is directly over Tom's right shoulder, Aqualin, is a super good 2-player game. If you have anyone for the holidays, or even as we get past the holidays, looking into February for like Valentine's Day and couples gaming and things like that, Aqualin is super good. So I'm a big fan of abstracts. I'm a big fan of very simple 2-player style games like that, and it is really cool. So I've been looking at that right over your shoulder and just wanted to point it out and make a comment about it.
I love the pieces too.
Yeah, those backlight tiles, they're like super awesome and really well silk screen and everything. That's a game that's deceptively simple. The first couple of times we played it, we're like, oh, this is it. And then about 3 or 4 times in, we're like, oh, I can do this to you. I can do this to you. And you start to realize the manipulation you can do with it.
It can get mean. I've played the game so many times now that when I play someone and I teach it the first time, like I will destroy them. But the next time, they will sometimes beat me. It's got a very low entry level as well. Like once you figured the game out, you can catch up. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not the best. I'm pretty good though. I feel like I'm pretty good at the game because I can beat someone on their first time pretty easily.
I wonder if that's going to be a dichotomy of not having shows for so long. If we're going to go back to shows and people are going to forget how to lose the demos, right? They're going to be so good at playing the games, right?
Yeah.
So just so everyone knows, Tom did put his email into chat as well. It's contact@thamesandkosmos.com. Tom is great at getting back to everybody on things. Sundance Cards had a really interesting question, a little bit off topic, but magician items and starter kits. Any feedback or comments on those?
We do have magic kits. Thames and Kosmos makes magic kits. So we make some really great ones. I'm not sure if GTS is interested in carrying them or not. That's a conversation, Scott, we probably have to have.
Yeah, for sure. And then Tabitha had a question around Thames and, well, not more of a statement. She said Thames and Kosmos should develop a Valentine's game speed dating promo event. That would actually be pretty cool. I mean, the seahorses are pink, right? You're almost there, little hearts in the background and things like that.
We have such great 2-player games.
But it wouldn't be very fast. And
the only problem.
It wouldn't be what?
It wouldn't be fast. It wouldn't be a speed date, right? Like, I would want to sit down and finish a game. If I'm going to start a game with someone.
That's a neat idea, though. You should ask Germany to take care of that since they're taking care of Essen for you.
Yeah.
So awesome. And just in case anyone didn't hear when we did start, Thames and Kosmos is participating in Essen Online this week, so you'll be sure to see some content and some information from them available this week as well. Hopefully soon we will get back to somewhat normal and be able to go to shows again and see each other. But in the short term, the online is still a good option. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tom, thank you very much. Really always appreciate you coming by. Thames and Kosmos is one of the best partners we have, one of the biggest partners we have, again, like I mentioned. And you just heard when Sundance asked about magician items, Thames and Kosmos makes a massive amount of different products and a lot of really good things. But if you have any questions, let us know. Feel free to reach out. Again, it's contact@thamesandkosmos.com to get a hold of Tom. You can reach me at smorris@gtsdistribution.com. Always happy to help with any kind of questions anybody has. Julio says your space is going up. Yes, it's slowly getting there. Yes, we will get there one day. It's going to be a little longer than planned, but we'll get there one day. In the meantime, I like being able to have the games on display, which is kind of cool. So, but retailers, as always, thank you very much. Really do appreciate y'all taking the time to join. If anyone's got any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to help you guys. Just for the retailers attending, just so you know, we do have another webinar on Wednesday as well. So we hope to see you then. But Tom, until we see you next time, thank you so much for joining. And retailers, have a great week in your stores.
Thank you, everybody.